place, as the British Medical Association has suggested.
Bharat, are you still there? Oh, yeah, you're
I
back.
am.
Camera just disappeared for a second, but it's all good now.
On the other hand, if the face masks don't really...
Is it Dr. Bharat, may I ask?
Warner's
Yes,
fashion,
yes.
etc.
That's great, thank you.
Is often the case. What's the point of having them at all? Should we, as Sajid Javid, the new health secretary, has suggested, just learn to live with COVID-19 as we have learned to live with the flu? Or, is it time to just get everything on the 19th of July and start that path of trying to get, COVID down to some degree of, normality, a kind of permanent companion, sometimes dangerous, sometimes less dangerous? What do you think? 0345 6060 973. My first guest on the subject this morning is Dr. Bharat Pankania, Senior Clinical Lecturer in Public Health Medicine at the University of Exeter. Good morning, Dr. Pankania.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's good to have you back on the programme. Do you agree with the British Medical Association that some restrictions have to stay in place after the 19th of July?
Absolutely. And they have to stay for not ceremonial reasons, but to control the outbreaks and save lives, because the virus is still out there and it's circulating extensively all over the world. So just because the UK population is extensively immunized doesn't mean we're back to normal, because we expect sporadic outbreaks for a little while, for a long time, unless we control outbreaks in other parts of the world as well.
The government is saying that the link between infection rates, which, as we know, have skyrocketed in recent weeks, and hospitalization rates have, they're not saying 100%, but largely been broken. Is that a fair assessment?
That is a fair assessment, but there is one word of caution here, which is, whilst we look at that uncoupling of cases compared to admissions to hospital and death as lagging behind by 3 weeks, with the variant, the Delta variant, the lag period may be a little bit longer, 6 to 8 weeks, that sort of thing. So at the moment, at this point in time, word of caution, the uncoupling looks like it is true. I hope it is truly true.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess what people, in really basic terms want to know is this. If COVID-19 is no longer killing people in the same way that it was killing them before, or even landing them in hospital with serious illness, why can't we just live with it?
I take your point, and my reasons are as follows. We can't just say live with it, like Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, new one, Sajid Javid, said, because this is still a serious disease-causing virus, number one. And number two, we still have not got an extensively immunized population. I know the older people, the vulnerable people, etc., are immunized, but we need to also consider the younger age and the school age, where the infections and the outbreaks start and then they spread to older people.
Sajid Javid used to be the Chancellor of the Exchequer. He's now the Health Secretary. Was he irresponsible when he said that we have to learn to live with COVID-19?
Oh, absolutely. And it's very populist. I was really disappointed to see his first address. And the words that kept on coming to my mind are, you are being populist rather than being pragmatic, scientific and measured. This was a very, very populist presentation by the new Secretary of State for Health and Social Care. It's a pity.
I mean, the scandal around Matt Hancock was one of hypocrisy. Here was a man who was saying something and doing something quite different. He was breaking his own rules. He had basically criminalized our private lives for a year and a half for the public good. Did any possibility of extending restrictions beyond the 19th of July die with that scandal?
Of course it did. And one reason why Matt Hancock had to leave was I was reflecting, how would I face the people that I am advising for years on end about infection control measures if I personally have been demonstrated to show I'm not taking infection control measures seriously. So he had to go because he had lost credibility. Similarly, we hope that the new Secretary of State is not popular, it follows the science and is measured rather than just goes with what appears to be popular.
Let's talk about face masks. I mean, one of the possibilities, I think even the government has mooted this, is that we will carry on having to wear face masks after the 19th of July. What is the point of wearing the face masks if they're not good enough? And we've been told that only some of the masks are good enough, and those are the ones being recommended now for the NHS. But the blue ones that most of us have are not good enough. And even more importantly, what's the point of having them as a fashion accessory dangling around your neck?
Exactly my points too. And I think this is a reflection on how Prime Minister Johnson, going back to March 2020, was very, very reluctant to introduce wearing of masks. And I have never seen a government little clip, an advisory clip on how to wear your masks and what a good quality mask looks like. So where I have my sphere of influence, I have been saying for some time, especially since the Delta variant appeared, which is up your specification on your mask wearing, and please wear it properly. It will protect you. It is a multi-layered approach to protecting yourself. The vaccines, the masks, the avoiding the closed, crowded places, the ventilation, etc. All those slices put together eventually lead to better protection for yourself.
I mean, you're right. At the beginning of the pandemic, we saw endless public service announcements on television and radio, including on this station, about how to wash your hands and for how long. Are you saying we should be seeing something very similar and now about the wearing of face masks?
Of course we should have. It's long overdue. And I have done my very best wherever I could to demonstrate how to wear your mask properly. Now I am also advising not only to wear your mask properly, but please up the specification on the lousy little, not lousy, I shouldn't have used that word, but slightly less protective mask, and wear a better, higher quality mask, because the Delta variant is more infectious.
But those masks, I think FFP3 or something, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, whatever they're called. Those masks are very difficult to come by, aren't they? And again,
Yes.
if you're going to get everyone to wear them, we need to buy them from somewhere. We need to make them somewhere. And
Yes,
that's just not going to happen, especially at a time when people think that they're going to be out in the open enjoying themselves in the middle of summer.
Well, this is what's called emergency preparedness and forward planning. And we have always said we need to have home established industry making these, rather than relying on made in China, cheap, imported across the seas. We need to manufacture these things, and we have to be truthful. We have to be truthful and say, we haven't got enough FFP2 masks, but we would like you to wear them if we had them. That would be a more truthful thing, rather than to say, the little flimsy things, just wear any old mask, it will do. That's not being absolutely truthful.
Okay, they're called FFP3 masks. That's it. I've got it now. Thank you very much.
FFP2 and there is
3.
FFP3 as well.
Okay.
FFP2 will do for most people in the public arena rather than in the hospitals. Okay, hospitals have higher spec than FFP2.
And are FFP3 masks already having to be worn in hospitals now? And are they being worn in hospitals?
Well, some hospitals have finally, at long last, adopted the guidelines to upped their guidance, sorry to say, to wear better quality masks and to wear the better quality masks in other clinical settings. For a very long time, the PPE guidelines were doctored down by the PHE to comply with, I feel, a shortage of PPE. So it was a watering down of PPE guidelines because we didn't have PPE.
Okay, but just a couple of other on masks, if you don't mind. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to get everyone to wear these, the good masks, the FFP2 or 3 masks. People are already not wanting to wear them anyway. If they're just going to have them dangling around their necks, what is the point of having them at all?
I agree. So again, a public health information message about why it is important to wear them under what circumstances. So when we've got very little viral activity out in the community, even I would say it's not necessary to be wearing your masks because it is safe. On the other hand, if you are in the vulnerable group, poor immune response to the vaccines, you're in a crowded place, crowded tube, train, that sort of thing, it would be in your own self-interest to wear that mask and wear it properly.
And now about the variants. Every time a new variant comes along, it seems to be worse than the last variant. It's a bit of a nightmare, whether you call them after a country or you call them, after the Greek alphabet. Is it inevitable that viruses, as they, spread in the community, come up with variants that are always worse? Or is it possible that we might get an omega variant that is actually milder and less infectious?
Oh, we look forward to that day, and that day will come, I assure you.
But how will it come?
The same way that the Delta variant has arisen. In other words, it's random mistakes, mutations, which unfortunately have led to more infectivity by the Delta variant. And a similar mutation will occur, and that is always the natural history of these viruses. A similar mutation will occur, and we will find that it becomes the dominant virus. It's very minor disease causing, and it has usurped the deltas and the alphas and the betas and the gammas. And there we will have a sigh of relief that it's finally going in the right direction. That will happen, but it could also go the other way. Anything is possible.
But so if the first scenario were to happen, is there not a case for saying, because we're, just about this country, because we're mostly vaccinated now in the vulnerable groups, let the thing, run riot, let everyone get it. So I know this is the old herd immunity argument, and I can see the abusive tweets coming in already against this, but that is what many people are arguing. If everyone gets it, there's a degree of universality about it, and that's how eventually you get to that milder variant. Or is that just nonsense?
No. I don't want to use the word nonsense, but that's not the way to get to the milder version of the variants. That's not the way.
What is the way then?
By the way, you wouldn't want to have herd immunity by infection, because that is saying we wish some people to get the infection and unfortunately they will die. What can you do? I think that would be a dereliction of duties. So we have no control over when the milder version will arise. It is a random act. We just don't know. But where we have control is to prevent, suppress the emergence of nasty variants. And that is, we need to act now internationally to suppress infections in India, Africa, South America, etc.
Okay. Dr. Bharat Pankania, thank you very much indeed for coming on the program. And after the break,
Thank you for that, Doctor. We really, really appreciate your time.